bond angle is 135 degree, and nitrogen to oxygen, the bond length is 121 picometer. So every molecule has got 4 phosphorus atoms, okay, in white phosphorus. Here black phosphorus, it is opaque, that's why we call it as black, and it has got monoclinic or rhombohedral crystals. Okay, so what is it? At high pressure and 473 Kelvin, white phosphorus can be converted to black phosphorus. Hello my dear students, welcome back to session 4 on the chapter P block elements. Last class we studied about properties of ammonia, then we went into the details about nitric acid, as well as we learnt a very important concept, that is manufacture of nitric acid by Oswald's process, or it's also called as modern process, isn't it? Today we shall study about oxides of nitrogen and the structure of oxides of nitrogen. Also we'll start with phosphorus and its compounds. Okay, so first is oxides of nitrogen. The first oxide which we have is dinitrogen oxide. Formula is N2O, and this is also called as laughing gas. It's nitrous oxide, which is also called as laughing gas. The oxidation state is +1. I hope you remember how to calculate the oxidation state. If not, I shall just explain. N2O, so nitrogen you want to calculate, that becomes 2x, plus for oxide it is always -2. So plus -2 is equal to 0, 2x is equal to 2, x is equal to +1. So that's how I have calculated the oxidation state of the nitrogen. Next, common methods of preparation, that is for nitrous oxide, you are taking ammonium nitrate and heating will get nitrous oxide and water, and nitrous oxide is a colorless gas and it is neutral. Okay, it is not acidic, it is neutral in nature. Okay, next one is nitrogen monoxide, that is NO, nitric oxide we also call it as. The oxidation state x plus -2 is equal to 0, x is equal to +2. So oxidation state is +2. How are we manufacturing it? You take NaNO2, treat it with ferrous sulfate and sulfuric acid, you will get ferric sulfate, NaHSO4, H2O, and the gas which is liberated is nitric oxide, and it is also a colorless gas and it is a neutral. Okay, it is not acidic, it's a neutral gas. Okay, next we have is dinitrogen trioxide, dinitrogen N2, trioxide O3. Okay, for this also same way you have to calculate the oxidation state and you will get it as +3. And how is it produced? Nitric oxide is treated with N2O4 at 250 Kelvin to get N2O3. It's a blue solid. See, it's not a gas, it is a solid, blue solid which is acidic in nature. Okay. Next what we have? We have nitrogen dioxide. It's also written as nitrogen 4 oxide because nitrogen is in +4 oxidation state. If you want, we can calculate, that is x plus -4 is equal to 0. So x is equal to +4. So it is in +4 oxidation state. You take lead nitrate, heat it at 673 Kelvin, nitrogen dioxide gas is obtained and it's a brown colored gas which is acidic in nature. Okay. So next one is dinitrogen tetroxide. This also is nitrogen 4 oxide. Okay, that is because nitrogen is in +4 state, and you can see here N2O4, that is 2x plus -8 is equal to 0. X will be equal to +4. Okay, so it is in +4 oxidation state. You take nitrogen dioxide, if you cool it, you will get nitrogen tetroxide, or if you take nitrogen tetroxide, when heat it, you will get nitrogen dioxide. That is, nitrogen dioxide is dimerizing when you are cooling to give N2O4, that is nitrogen tetroxide. Okay, this is a colorless solid or a liquid and it is acidic in nature. Okay, the last oxide which we have is nitrogen pentoxide, that is N2O5, and the oxidation state is 2x plus minus 10 is equal to 0, x is equal to 10 by 2, that is nothing but plus 5 state. Okay, so it is in plus 5 state. What we are doing? Nitric acid is treated with P4O10, that is phosphorus pentoxide. You will get HPO3 and N2O5, nitrogen pentoxide will be liberated, or dinitrogen pentoxide is liberated. It's a colorless solid and it is acidic in nature. So you can see oxides of nitrogen, there are 4 which is acidic in nature, only the first 2 were neutral. Also oxidation state you need not by heart, isn't it? You can calculate the oxidation state provided you know the formula of the oxide. Okay, only thing what you have to learn here is how are we going to prepare all these oxides of nitrogen and the respective names or the formula of the oxides of nitrogen. Now we learn about the structure of oxides of nitrogen. Okay, next we have the structure of oxides of nitrogen. The first one is nitrous oxide, N2O. You have 2 nitrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom, and there are 2 resonating structures. That is, between the 2 nitrogen atom you can put a double bond, or between nitrogen and oxygen also you can put a double bond, so that oxygen will get a 2 lone pair of electrons and nitrogen also are getting 2 lone pair of electrons. Now how exactly we are putting this lone pair of electrons and the double bond? You have already learned how to write the Lewis dot structures in your first year. Only then you will be able to write this. Okay. The other resonating structure is between the 2 nitrogen atom you can put triple bond, and with nitrogen and oxygen you can show single bond. Okay. And the bond parameters, if you see, nitrogen to nitrogen bond length is 113 picometer, nitrogen to oxygen is 119 picometer, and it's a linear molecule. Okay. Next we have nitric oxide, that is NO. Here between nitrogen and oxygen there is a double bond. Nitrogen has 1 pair of lone pair of electron and oxygen has 2 lone pair of electrons with 1 extra electron. In the other resonating structure between nitrogen and oxygen we have shown double bond itself, but you can see the lone pair of electrons how it is placed is different. For nitrogen I have put 2 and 1 electron so that it gets octet, and oxygen we have put 2 lone pair of electrons. So this is the 2 ways of writing the Lewis dot structure, or we can tell there are 2 resonating structures, and here the bond length is 115 picometer. Okay. Next we have N2O3, dinitrogen trioxide. Between nitrogen and nitrogen there is a single bond, and you can see between 2 oxygen atoms there are double bond, and 1 oxygen atom we have shown only single bond. And you can see here you have 6, 7, 8, 8 octet oxygen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 it is attaining. Again you can see the oxygen atom here 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 it is attaining 8. Now you have to see about the nitrogen. Nitrogen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This also is attaining 8. Here this particular nitrogen, that's the second nitrogen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 it has attained. So this is how you write the resonance structure. Now what is the change between the 2 structures is, instead of writing first the double bond was shown in with these 2 oxygen, then the double bond was shown with these 2 oxygen and 1 other oxygen. So it is just that the double bond has moved from one place to the other, okay, to give 2 resonating structures. So the bond length or the bond parameters, if you see, nitrogen and oxygen it is 114 picometer and the angle is 105 degree. Between the 2 oxygen atoms which is attached to the same nitrogen atom, the angle is 130 degree, and the bond parameter you can see where this single bond is present, it is 121 picometer, and between the two nitrogen atom it is 186 picometer, and the structure is a planar structure. Okay. Next one is NO2, where you have learnt how to write this in your first year. Nitrogen and oxygen, with one oxygen double bond, with the other we have shown single bond, and this is moving to another oxygen, you will get the resonating structure. Angle is 134 degree and the bond length is 120 picometer. Okay, it's an angular structure it has got, or the bent structure it has got. N2O4, you can see two nitrogen atoms are bonded with one another, and you have four oxygen atoms. In that two oxygen atoms there is single bond, and the other two there is double bond. You have to just move the double bond, you will get two double bonds on the opposite end and two single bonds on the opposite to one another. So here if you see, it's a planar molecule, bond length is 175 picometer, bond angle is 135 degree, and nitrogen to oxygen the bond length is 121 picometer. Okay. Now the last one, that is N2O5. You can see between the two nitrogen atom also there is an oxygen atom, and to the nitrogen atom there are two more oxygen which is attached. So you can see that there are two double bonds and two single bonds, and there is one oxygen atom which is attached to both the nitrogen atoms. Okay, and resonating structure, if you see, you have to just move the double bond here, you will get the resonating structure. And what is the bond angle? Here this bond angle is 112 degree. Between these two oxygen atoms the bond angle is 134 degree. Bond length is 119 picometer. Between nitrogen and oxygen, that is the middle oxygen atom, it is 151 picometer, and the molecule is again planar molecule. Okay. So that's about the resonating structures as well as the oxides of nitrogen, their oxidation state and how it is prepared we have studied. Next, we are going to learn about phosphorus. Phosphorus is also the element which is belonging to group 15. Phosphorus has three allotrophic forms. Okay, that is, they exist in three different forms. We call them as allotrophic forms. The first one is white or yellow phosphorus. It is actually white in color, but then when it is exposed to light, then the color changes, it becomes a little yellowish. Thus, it is also called as yellow phosphorus. So, we call it as white or yellow phosphorus. Then we have red phosphorus, and one more is black phosphorus. So, we have three colored allotrophic forms: white or yellow phosphorus, red phosphorus or black phosphorus. Okay. Next we are going to study about their properties. I have just made a table so that we can compare and study, and it is easy for us to remember. Okay. So white phosphorus, if you see, it is a discrete tetrahedral P4 molecule. So every molecule has got 4 phosphorus atoms. Okay, in white phosphorus. But in red phosphorus, if you see, it's a polymeric structure containing a chain of P4 units linked together. So you have P4 molecule which are attached to one another. You will get a long chain, then we call it as red phosphorus. More about the structure I will explain in the coming slides. Okay. Black phosphorus exists in two forms. We call it as alpha black phosphorus and beta black phosphorus. Okay. So this is how they actually exist, or what is the structure of the white, red and black phosphorus. Next, about the reactivity. White phosphorus is very reactive, red phosphorus is less reactive compared to white, and black phosphorus is very less reactive. That is, they do not react that very easily at all. Okay. Next is about their chemiluminescence, that is, whether they can glow in dark. If it glows in dark, we call the white phosphorus, if you just keep it, okay, in dark it will start glowing, okay, we call it as chemiluminescence. So chemiluminescence is shown by white phosphorus, but red phosphorus and black phosphorus do not show that. Okay. Next, what is the appearance of these allotrophic forms? This is translucent waxy solid. It has got iron grey luster. It has got opaque monoclinic and rhombohedral crystals. So what is it? White phosphorus, it is having a translucent waxy kind of a solid it is, whereas red phosphorus is having a grey luster, that is, it is having some kind of a shine there. And here black phosphorus, it is opaque, that's why we call it as black, and it has got monoclinic or rhombohedral crystals. Okay. Next is about their solubility. In which solvent are they soluble? White phosphorus is soluble in carbon disulfide, but it is insoluble in water, whereas red phosphorus is insoluble in water as well as carbon disulfide. So what is it? White phosphorus is soluble in carbon disulfide, that is organic solvent, but it is insoluble in water. Red phosphorus is not soluble in both, that is water as well as carbon disulfide. About solubility of black phosphorus we have not studied. Okay. Next is about their ignition temperature. White phosphorus can just catch fire. It has got a very low ignition temperature and therefore it is stored under water. Okay, whereas red phosphorus and black phosphorus do not catch fire so easily. Okay, so that's about the properties of white, red as well as black phosphorus. Further, we have some more chemical properties and the structure which we will study. Okay, so next is how exactly we can convert one form to other. Okay, in this you can understand preparation of different forms of phosphorus, or how can you convert one allotropic form to the other allotropic form, or whether it is possible at all. If I have white phosphorus and if it is heated at 573 Kelvin in an inert atmosphere. Inert atmosphere means there should not be any other gas which is there like oxygen, nitrogen, etc. Okay, it should be inert, nothing should be there. Okay, inert atmosphere for several days, if you heat it, it can get converted to red phosphorus. Okay, so white at 573 Kelvin in an inert atmosphere, if you are heating it, then for several days if you do it, it gets converted to red phosphorus. Then white phosphorus can also be converted to black phosphorus at high pressure and 473 Kelvin. So what is it? At high pressure and 473 Kelvin, white phosphorus can be converted to black phosphorus. Not only that, if we get red phosphorus, from red phosphorus also we can get black phosphorus. That is, if you are heating it at 803 Kelvin in a sealed tube for a long time, if you are heating, red phosphorus can get converted to black phosphorus. So from this you can understand that if you have white phosphorus, you can get the other two allotropic forms also, isn't it? White phosphorus only at 573 Kelvin, if you heat it for several days, then you can get red phosphorus. Or if you heat it at high pressure and 473 Kelvin, we can get black phosphorus. Also, red phosphorus we can use to prepare black phosphorus. That is, at 803 Kelvin in sealed tube, if you are continuously heating, then red phosphorus can get converted to black phosphorus. So I hope you understood the interconversion between one form to the other form. Okay. Next is about the chemical properties of white phosphorus. I told you all white phosphorus catches fire immediately, or it is having a very low ignition temperature. So it readily catches fire in air, giving dense fumes of phosphorus pentoxide, that is P2O5. So you can see P4, that is white phosphorus, with oxygen it will give P2O5. Okay, so it will catch fire and it gives white dense fumes. Okay. Next is, it can be dissolved in caustic alkalis on boiling in an inert atmosphere to give phosphine. So what we are doing? We are taking phosphorus. Caustic alkali means it is NaOH. We also call it as caustic soda. Why the word caustic is used? Because it is highly corrosive. That's the reason we are using the word caustic. Okay, so you take phosphorus with caustic alkali is NaOH, okay, which is caustic or which is corrosive. That is, on boiling with a solution of caustic alkali in an inert atmosphere, you will get phosphine. pH3 is called as phosphine gas. It's a gas, and more about that again you will have to study in detail. Along with phosphine, what is formed? Sodium hypophosphite, that is NaH2PO2 is called as sodium hypophosphite. Okay. So this is the chemical properties of white phosphorus. Next, we are learning the structure of white phosphorus. I told you every molecule of white phosphorus is made up of 4 atoms of phosphorus, correct? And these 4 atoms of phosphorus are placed at the 4 corners of the tetrahedron. Thus, we tell that it has got a tetrahedral structure. What structure? Tetrahedral structure. And the bond angle is 60 degree and the bond length is 221 picometer. Okay. So, this is the structure of white phosphorus. Whereas red phosphorus, you take the molecules of white phosphorus and it is linked to one another. It forms a long polymeric chain. Then it becomes a red phosphorus. So, what we call it is a polymeric chain consisting of chains of P4 molecule. Then it is the structure of what? Red phosphorus. Okay. So, that's about the structure. Next, we are learning about phosphine. Okay. Phosphine is pH3. It is a compound of phosphorus. So, we are going to learn about how is it prepared and what are the chemical properties and what is the uses or what is the nature of this particular compound. Okay. So, first we will start with preparation of phosphine. That is, first phosphine is prepared by reaction of calcium phosphide. What is it? Calcium phosphide. Be very careful of writing the names. Calcium phosphide when we take and treat it with water, calcium hydroxide is formed and phosphine gas is liberated. Similarly, calcium phosphide when it is treated with dilute HCl, you will get calcium chloride and phosphine. Now, if you see, it is very important to balance the equations. I am repeating again, if you do not balance the equations, you will be losing marks. It is equivalent to not writing the equation. Please don't expect marks in the final exam when you are writing the equation without balancing it. It is very important to learn to balance the equations, especially in inorganic chemistry. Okay. So, you can take calcium phosphide Ca3P2 and treat it with water or with dilute HCl, phosphine is liberated. Okay, that is the first method of preparation. Second method, which we already learnt in properties of white phosphorus, it's a repetition here. That is, you take white phosphorus, treat it with concentrated solution of NaOH, which is also called as caustic alkali, in inert atmosphere of carbon dioxide. Okay, you will get phosphine gas is liberated and sodium hypophosphite is formed. Correct? And this phosphine gas is not very pure. So, what we do for purification is, this gas is absorbed with Hi, that is, it is passed through Hi. When it is passed through Hi, it will form phosphonium iodide, that is PH4I, that is PH3 plus Hi, you add it up, it is PH4I, phosphonium iodide. Now, that phosphonium iodide, when it is treated with KOH, you can see here PH4I with KOH, potassium with iodine will go as Ki, H2O will be removed and you will have pure phosphine gas which is liberated, which can be collected. Okay. So, these are the two methods of preparation of phosphine. Next is properties. What are the physical properties? It's a colorless gas with the odor of rotten fish and it is highly poisonous in nature. It's having a stink of rotten fish and it is also poisonous. Okay. It's slightly soluble in water and it is heavier than air. So these are the physical properties of phosphine. Next, it is basic in nature, that is it's a weak base, even weaker than ammonia. Okay, it reacts with acid to form phosphonium compounds, that is with HCl you add up, it is addition. Okay, PH4Cl, it is called as phosphonium chloride, or with HBr it will form phosphonium bromide, or again with HI, which you already learned, PH3 with HI, what did you get? PH4I, phosphonium iodide, isn't it? So what happens, it is a weak base, that's why it is reacting with the acid to form a phosphonium compound. Okay, next is phosphonium gets absorbed in copper sulfate or mercury chloride solution, corresponding phosphides are obtained. You have to be very careful when you are writing, okay, the spellings. So what is happening, copper sulfate, when it reacts with phosphine, that is it absorbs phosphine to form phosphides, Cu3P2, copper phosphide, and H2SO4 is liberated. Same way with mercury chloride, when phosphine is reacting, you will get a phosphide, mercuric phosphide, and HCl is liberated. Okay, so what will happen? Copper sulfate or mercury chloride will absorb phosphine to give phosphides. Okay, so that's about the basic nature of phosphine. So under phosphine, what did you all study? You studied about the preparation, and then you have studied about the basic nature and the physical properties of phosphine. Okay, next we have phosphorus halides. There are two types of halides which phosphorus can form, that is phosphorus trihalide and phosphorus pentahalide. That is, it can form, for example, PCl3 is a trihalide and PCl5 is a pentahalide, and we are going to learn in detail about PCl3 and PCl5. Okay, so PCl3 is a colorless oily liquid, whereas PCl5 is yellowish white powder. So one is a liquid, one is a solid. Okay, next, how is it prepared? Phosphorus, when it is treated with chlorine, you can get PCl3, that is with limited amount of chlorine. Okay, or phosphorus, when it is treated with SOCl2, that is thionyl chloride, we can get PCl3, SO2 and S2Cl2. Whereas for PCl5, you take phosphorus P4 and excess of chlorine, will get phosphorus pentachloride, or phosphorus with SO2Cl2, you will get PCl5 and sulfur dioxide gas is liberated. So this is the method of preparation. Okay, next we'll see about their chemical properties. See, it is hydrolyzed in the presence of moisture, that is PCl3 in the presence of water or moisture, it will form H3PO3 and it will form HCl. Okay, same way PCl5 with water, it will form POCl3 and HCl. Further, POCl3, phosphorus oxide trichloride, will react with more moisture to form H3PO4 and HCl. So with PCl3, you will get H3PO3 acid, where PCl5 ultimately you will get H3PO4 acid. Okay, next is, what is its reaction with acetic acid and alcohol? With acetic acid, CH3COH, PCl3 will form CH3COCl and H3PO3 is formed, whereas with alcohol it will form C2H5Cl, that is substitution. Where did you have learned this? In alcohols chapter you have learned. Also we have studied in preparation of haloalkane. Same reaction we have learned. Alcohol, when it is treated with PCl3, you will get an haloalkane and H3PO3 is produced, isn't it? See, there is a repetition of the equations. Okay, you studied in organic chemistry, but it is there in inorganic chemistry also. Okay, so what about PCl5? With acetic acid, with PCl5, you will get CH3COCl, that is acetyl chloride, POCl3 and HCl. Also, alcohol with PCl5 will give H3PO4 and HCl will be obtained. Okay. Next, pyramidal shape, that is, it has got sp3 hybridization. Here it has got trigonal bipyramidal shape and sp3d hybridization. And about this one, you have studied it in your first year, the hybridization, isn't it? Last is PCl5 can also react with metal, but PCl3 does not react. So it reacts with silver to give AgCl, and PCl3 with tin it reacts to give SnCl4 and PCl3. Okay. Last, we are learning about the structure. I shall just explain about the structure of PCl5 and PCl3. PCl3, it is undergoing sp3 hybridization. It should have been tetrahedral structure, but because of the lone pair of electron, it has got a pyramidal structure. Okay, and PCl5 undergoes sp3d hybridization, and it has got a trigonal bipyramidal structure. You can see 3 chlorine atoms are in the plane, and you have 2 more chlorine atoms which is there above the plane. Okay, so in the equator you have 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and here you can see this bond angle, bond length is 202 picometer, whereas this is 240 picometer. And in detail you all have studied about this in your first year, isn't it? So that's about phosphorus trichloride and phosphorus pentachloride. In the next class, we'll be studying about oxoacids of phosphorus and their structure. Also, we'll start with group 16 elements, learn their electronic configuration and occurrence, and trends in physical properties. So, see you next class. Thank you, my dear children. Stay tuned, stay focused.